Jack the Ripper. Have you ever heard of the unidentified serial killer who used to roam in and around the impoverished Whitechapel district of London, England? Have you ever heard of Jack the Ripper? The year was 1888. In the dimly lit streets of Whitechapel, a shadow of terror loomed over the city. During this dark and turbulent period of history, a series of gruesome and unsolved murders sent shockwaves through society and gave birth to the infamous legend of Jack the Ripper. Whitechapel was a densely populated and impoverished area during the late 19th century. It was characterized by narrow, winding streets, dilapidated buildings, and a burgeoning population of impoverished residents. The district was a melting pot of different cultures and social classes, where poverty and crime were rampant, and life was a daily struggle for many. In 9 weeks, beginning in August 1888 and continuing into the autumn, a series of brutal murders occurred in Whitechapel that would leave an indelible mark on history. 5 women, all living on the fringes of society, fell victim to a merciless and sadistic killer. Their lives were taken in a brutal and grotesque manner, leaving the entire city in a state of shock and fear. The gruesome nature of these murders sent shockwaves through London, as citizens feared for their lives and the police scrambled to catch the elusive killer. Meanwhile, his victims were called the Canonical Five. These included Ann Nichols, whose body was discovered on August 31st, 1888, followed by Chapman on September 8th, 1888, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes on September 30th, 1888, and Mary Jane Kelly, whose body was seen on November 9th, 1888. Marian, a middle-aged prostitute struggling to make ends meet, was found with her throat slit and her abdomen savagely mutilated. Annie, another impoverished woman, met a similarly gruesome end. Her lifeless body was discovered with her throat cut and her organs gruesomely removed. Elizabeth, known as Long Liz among the local prostitutes, had a murder was eerily different from the other victims, as her throat was slashed, but her body was left mostly untouched. Catherine, a destitute woman who eked out a living on the streets and fell victim on the same night as Elizabeth, was found with her throat slashed, her face mutilated, and her intestines exposed. Mary Jane, on the other hand, met her end in her squalid room. Her body was horrifically mutilated, and the scene inside her lodgings resembled a slaughterhouse. Aside from these 5 women, there were also other victims being linked to Jack the Ripper, who was also called the Whitechapel Murderer and Leather Apron. Each of these tragic tragic events took place in the squalid streets and cramped alleyways of Whitechapel. The crime scenes were marked by blood, terror, and the inability of the police to apprehend the perpetrator. The absence of advanced forensic techniques during that era and the difficult conditions in which these women lived and worked further compounded the challenges faced by investigators. Later, the moniker Jack the Ripper found its origins in the infamous Dear Boss letter. The letter, written in a boastful tone and was addressed to the boss, Central News Office, London City. This letter was penned by an individual who claimed to be the murderer and was widely circulated in the press. A part of it said, "Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp, I want to get to work right away if I get a chance." Later, it was regarded as a likely hoax, possibly crafted by journalists with the intention of sensationalizing the story and boosting their newspaper's readership. Then, there came another eerie development in the case with the arrival of the From Hell letter sent to George Lusk, president of the Whitechapel Vigilance Committee. The letter, which was signed by Jack the Ripper, said, "I write you a letter in black ink, as I have no more of the right stuff. I think you are all asleep in Scotland Yard with your bloodhounds, as I will show you tomorrow night, Saturday. I am going to do a double event, but not in Whitechapel. Got rather too warm there. Had to shift. No more till you hear me again." These macabre details added to the public's growing belief in the existence of a single serial killer referred to as Jack the Ripper. This belief was primarily fueled by the exceptionally brutal nature of the murders and the extensive media coverage of the crimes. Several days later, an enigmatic package arrived for Lusk. This parcel, wrapped in nondescript brown paper and featuring an unclear London postmark, was delivered to him via the Evening Post. The package was addressed to Lusk by name and specified the street, but notably omitted his house number. Upon opening the package, Lusk discovered a repugnant piece of kidney, emitting a foul odor, accompanied by yet another letter. The gruesome murders in Whitechapel ignited a frantic manhunt for the perpetrator, but the identity of Jack the Ripper remained shrouded in mystery. As investigators scoured the crime scenes and interviewed witnesses, numerous suspects emerged, each with their own set of circumstantial evidence and motivations. Considerable speculation arose regarding the killer's potential medical or anatomical knowledge. As a result, the police initiated an investigation into the activities of various medical students who had spent time in asylums. However, this line of inquiry proved fruitless as these students' movements were thoroughly accounted for, and they were subsequently eliminated as suspects in the crimes. The question then arose, was the perpetrator a butcher or a slaughterer? Some individuals held a contrary perspective, asserting that the murderer did not exhibit a significant level of medical expertise, suggesting that their skills were more akin to those of a butcher or a slaughterer. One of the earliest and intriguing suspects was Montague John Druitt, a barrister. Druitt came under suspicion due to his sudden disappearance and subsequent suicide in December 1888. Although his connection to the case remains tenuous, his troubled life and tragic end have continued to fuel speculation. Another suspect, Aaron Kosminski, was a Polish immigrant who resided in Whitechapel and was known for his violent tendencies. In the early 20th century, the police identified him as a likely suspect. However, due to limited evidence and the lack of modern forensic techniques, he was never charged. Francis Tumblety, an American quack doctor and known misogynist, also attracted attention. He was in London at the time of the murders and was arrested on unrelated charges, though he managed to escape back to the United States before facing any serious scrutiny in the Ripper case. The list of potential suspects is extensive, ranging from members of the royal family to local butchers and surgeons. Each theory has its own supporters and detractors, and the lack of concrete evidence has kept the case open to wild speculation. Throughout the years, various officials were involved in investigating the case. However, their efforts yielded no definitive answers, leaving the true identity of Jack the Ripper a tantalizing enigma. The chilling tale of Jack the Ripper has left an indelible mark on literature, film, and popular culture. From the penny dreadfuls of the 19th century to modern-day horror novels and movies, the Ripper's story continues to captivate audiences around the world. The character of Jack the Ripper has become an enduring figure of fear and fascination, perpetuating the myth that still haunts the dark alleys of Whitechapel. The Ripper's gruesome crimes have, in some instances, inspired others to commit similar acts. Over the years, there have been cases of individuals who sought to emulate the infamy of Jack the Ripper. The legend of this enigmatic killer has contributed to the idea of the serial killer in popular consciousness, paving the way for an entire genre of true crime and criminal profiling. Advances in forensic science and the never-ending quest for answers have led to contemporary efforts to solve the mystery of Jack the Ripper. Researchers have employed modern techniques, such as DNA analysis, to re-examine evidence from the original crime scenes. These efforts have provided intriguing leads and raised new questions about the identity of the killer, but as of yet, no definitive conclusion has been reached. The legend of Jack the Ripper, though a source of fascination, also raises ethical questions. Some argue that focusing on the Ripper's crimes glorifies violence against women and obscures the harsh realities faced by marginalized individuals in the late 19th century. There is a fine line between historical investigation and sensationalism, and it's important to approach the subject with sensitivity and respect for the victims. The enigma of Jack the Ripper endures, leaving many unanswered questions. Who was this shadowy figure, and what motivated the heinous crimes? Despite the passage of more than a century, these questions persist, perpetuating the enduring allure of one of history's greatest mysteries. And with that, we've come to the end of our video. Please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and click that notification bell. This has been saying, see you next time.